This is going to be a solo master nightfall, getting platinum rank on a Titan for Proven Grounds. For those that just want to see the run, then skip the timestamps you have available to you. Other than that, I can show you what mods I had on and all that stuff. So the master nightfall modifiers, as of this week, are pretty simple. I'm not going to go through them all, because I always do this, but I'm going to start to sort of concentrate on the main ones. So we know what champions they are. I'll just talk about the weekly modifiers. So Empath, take increased damage from melee opponents. We need to know that. Famine is the weekly master modifier this week. So all ammunition drops are reduced. And other than that, as I said, it's the usual master modifiers, but this one, incoming splash damage is increased and knockback damage. So we've got to know all that. Obviously, you've got to know everything else, but champions and stuff. But I'm pretty sure if you're watching this, you know what champions are in it. It'll give it away when you see my loadout. So we're on a Titan, Code of the Siegebreaker, Sunbreaker. That's Thermite Grenade and Tower Barricade. We paired that with the exotic chestplate Actium War Rig, which steadily reloads our equipped auto rifles or LMGs. We have this on pairing that with the exotic auto rifle Sweet Business. Now it's anti-barrier auto rifle this season. This is the best auto rifle in the game to deal with champions, hands down. The downside is that you have to give up your exotic slot for that. Is it worth it? Well, it can be. It just depends on what you're doing. It depends on your loadout. For example, if you're going to be using this style of loadout, depends on what nightfall you're doing, but obviously on this one, we can go double unstoppable. So we got Freddy Needle with Vorpal weapon boss spec, and the coordinate solar fusion rifle with Vorpal major spec. So these two champions will deal with all our boss DPS mainly, champions and all that stuff. And it'll match some of the shields that we need. And then the Sweet Business will primarily be on Ad Clear and champion shields. And you can actually solo champions easily with this auto rifle. So obviously we've got the Actium War Rig. It means we barely have to reload it. Works out excellent for this one. I didn't realise how good it would work, and it worked really good. My mods are Font of Wisdom, Elemental Armaments, Font of Might, Elemental Ordnance, Well of Ordnance. So this is a well build with Code of the Siegebreaker, which basically means that we want to make we want to make a couple of wells. So we can make wells via our grenade. When we pick up a well, we get great energy back. When we pick up a well, we get a damage buff for our solar weapons, which will be the fusion. Elemental Armaments will make wells via our grenade. And then Font of Wisdom gives us increased super regeneration for 30 seconds. So this is what I'm using the Elemental Well build with Code of the Siegebreaker. And then other mods was Ammo Finders, Auto Rifle, Anti-Barrier, Unstoppable Fusion. Solar Damage Resistance Concussive Dampener on the chest plate. Scavengers on the boots. And then Particle Deconstruction with a Bomber on my class piece. That was what I had on. So as we start the run, we want to Sparrow to the right hand side. And we're going to take out one of the Cabal turrets. The reason why we do this is because I want to take out the Unstoppable from the right hand side, rather than from the left hand side. You can take it from the left hand side, whatever you wish. It really doesn't matter on this difficulty. A lot of the ads you're going to see at the starting section you don't need. There's a bunch of Vex, arc shielded by the way as well. You don't need to take them, it's just a waste of ammo. Just take out the Unstoppable champion, you need him for platinum. Then you can push up. Then this is where I go to the left hand side. There's a lot of cover on the left hand side. We'll create a well here. So I've created a well. This is giving me a weapon boost, which I can't utilise right now. But I am getting the Font of Wisdom going, which is good. We'll take out another two turrets. The way this hill area works is that it's distance based. So what does that mean? Well, you go up the hill a little bit, you get a bunch of Cabal. You go up more, you get more. So you can get all the waves spawning at once, which, to be honest, is probably the fastest way of doing it. And then just keep pushing up this left hand side, because what this does is it manipulates the ads, their positioning. They can't really hit you. The biggest threat is going to be nades. Again, we'll take out two turrets. Make sure all the three turrets are down. I took out the other turret on the other side with my linear previously, but make sure they're all down, because when it comes to breaking the Cabal shield, you're going to have freedom of movement, which is what you want. We'll deal with that Unstoppable there, pretty easy. And then, as I said, the Cabal start to position themselves. Some of the Cabal will be here, especially the orange bars and things, but there'll be a lot of red bar Cabal that won't have pushed up. Now there'll be the barrier champion to deal with, but I deal with the barrier later. You can deal with him whenever you want, really, but it's really just a case of singling him out. Is the best case scenario. So with your Sweet Business here, you can see the range of it. Its range is decent. Now, is it going to be as good in GMs? Well, I can tell you, I've already done it in Grandmasters. In a previous season, we had anti-barrier auto then, so it's going to react the same way. Actually, it's going to be better because it's infinite ammo. So Sweet Business got an indirect buff when they made infinite primary ammo. Sweet Business, Outbreak Prime, Devil's Ruin, all those types of weapons, Skyburners, Oath, they all sort of got buffed because what makes them good is that they're really good on ad clear, and ad clear is so important to you in GM content. Master content, not as much, but you can sort of test weapons out in Master, see how they go. If you really wanted to test it and do GM test, lower your power level 25. So the Master's 1350, come in at 1325, test a weapon. If it works out better than you thought, then it's going to be the same in a GM. Basically the same. In actual fact, a lower power level Master is more difficult than a Grandmaster because you're farming on, or attrition maybe, or togetherness, imagine that. But obviously they don't do that because they realise that they're just making it more obnoxious at that point, which it would be. So they just put chaff on. Chaff is only on for the Grandmasters. So we got a second spawn of champion, which is unstoppable. It spawns out that door. Pretty easy to deal with. The barrier will be behind you. There's not a lot of angle on this. For me, he jumps away, I believe, on this run. Yeah, he does. Which is not what you want happening. And generally he doesn't, but he has for me. So we end up dealing with him differently, and I haven't seen the barrier do this, but he jumps all the way to me, which is generally not the case. Generally he won't do that. So generally you want to take him out from here, which is there's more space over on the right hand side to have done that, but he pushes to the left, so we end up taking it from here. So you'll see the utility of Sweet Business. So you can see with the acting war rig, I can essentially take a champion out without reloading, and it does decent damage, decent sustained damage for a primary. Look at the shield breaks. That has to be the quickest shield break apart from Lament. This is the quickest shield break anti-barrier weapon there is. Okay, just because of how it works. Now we'll deal with the red bar ads that never pushed. That's fine, we can take them from here. What we're doing here is dealing with ads while the big Ultra Cabal can't really hit us from this location so much, which is really good. But your goal here is to have all ads down before you start dealing with that Cabal shield. Have all the ads down, just because you're going to have to go into that bubble to destroy the center core, whatever it is, to take down the shield. Now if you have Skyburner's Oath on, which I already made a video about, you don't have to. You can take it from a range, which could be a difference in GMs. If you just have one teammate with that weapon on, make it so much easier. But what you can also do is when the boss sustain fires you like that, you can hide behind the middle device to then just take it out, so he can't hit you, which is really good that way. And then we can use the super here, just do some damage. It saves on using weapon ammo, because obviously famine's on, so you are going to experience less ammo drops. But the scavengers and the ammo finders are really going to help you out and try and negate that mod as much as possible, because there's nothing worse when you haven't got ammo to deal with things. That's why, as I say, double primary or like weapons like that, loadout weapons like that, work out really good. Weapons like Outbreak Perfected, Sweet Business, all that stuff's really good now, because it was always a problem in the past where, oh, I don't have enough scout ammo to get this shield, or to do this or do that. You never have to worry about that anymore. So the solo environment's changed. You're gonna see, obviously Vex is probably gonna be the best sort of choice, because it's classed as a fusion, so you can debuff all enemies. It also has the unstoppable built in it, where you can put that in it because it's classed as a fusion, and you can get buffed, get stacks of particle deconstruction on enemies to then swap to your linear or whatever you're using to get maximum damage output. So that probably will be the best. But there's also other good alternatives if you don't have Vex, like I don't have Vex, so I'm looking at alternatives. And this works out to be decent on a Titan, for sure. Okay, so moving on with the tank room. This is going to be something that most people are going to want to see, because this room can be... It's probably the most difficult room, maybe harder than the boss, just because of how this arena is designed. You end up getting 2 tanks, I'm sure we know that. You get snipers to deal with, you've got champions to deal with, you've got ultras to deal with, and they're all buffed. This is the thing, I know there's no burn on this Nightfall, like Arc, Solar, or Void, but to be honest, we'd rather have that, because a lot of the enemies, the tanks, they do splash damage, and splash damage is increased. Even the adds can be counted in that, because they do nades, and that's counted as splash damage. So nades are buffed, champions are buffed, tanks are buffed, snipers are threatening regardless whether they're buffed by the Nightfall or not. You need to take those out, which you saw me took out the 2 snipers left and right, you know, straight away. Now, as you saw there, I deleted one of the tank vehicles. Sweet Business, for whatever reason, I don't know why, it absolutely melts vehicles. Now, I'm not saying there's a secret perk with it, probably not, but it absolutely melts. It's just because of its sustained fire, I guess. But you can, you know, melt, literally, you could probably melt the tank with it as well, but with the tanks, it's different. You really need to melt them down with either a heavy or a special or a super, at least one of them, because the room is very threatening when you've got 2 tanks up, 2 champions and all that stuff. This is me showing you the range of Sweet Business, which, by the way, this is going to break shields from this range on Grandmaster. I know that for a fact. It really, 30 meters, you can do it. When you start getting above around 30-35 meters, you're going to struggle to break the shields. It still can do it though. It's just the nature of the weapon which makes it really good. But at the very least, I would like to see them buff it just slightly. Maybe not its damage, it's just its range. I would like to see it maybe be successful at around 40 meters. And I know it's just classed as an auto rifle, but it kind of isn't an auto rifle. It's kind of actually a kinetic machine gun. That's actually what this is. But this was introduced 2017 when D2 was double primary. So this weapon makes sense to be an exotic based on that. You know, but it's not really an auto rifle. I mean, it's classed as one, but it's more of a LMG. But just a kinetic one. So make sure that you melt both vehicles left and right, which you can do that by just showing you the safe angle that I used. When you get dogs, be aware, I was sort of caught off guard with that, but I used a nade. Just listen out for the audio cue. They spawn up. I don't know the spawn trigger on those. Maybe it's when both vehicles are took out, or maybe they're time based. I'm not 100%, but you get 2 waves of dogs per phase. So this is phase 1. On tanks, that's phase 2. We've took out one barrier, so the other barrier is going to be less threatening. It's when you've got 2 of them doing sustained damage on you. But what you might find is rotating around the map really helps. So if you're getting a lot of fire on one side of the map, rotate to right, rotate to left. Do map rotation in this. Don't sit too long unless you know exactly what you're doing. Because I'm in trouble with this champion here. Whenever he's doing sustained fire like that, show yourself to another side. He will stop, and then it gives you that second or 2 to get a shield, like so. We're going to spend this ammo. I know we're low, but it's totally worth just getting a barrier melted. If I was a little bit closer, the Sweet Business, I would have used it a bit more, but I just wanted to melt him down. The next phase of tanks doesn't start until all adds are cleared. So what I would do is clear all of them and then get into position when the vehicle's nearly destroyed so that you're ready for critical hit. You need to be in a position where you start to melt a tank as the phase starts, because what happens is, I would say you have 5 to 10 seconds of free damage, I would say, to the tanks. Or you could choose to melt a champion instead, but I really think you're probably better off just melting the tank rather than a champ. But you can. I know where the champions spawn. There's mid doors left and right where they come out from. Say if you had a frontal crash server, you could frontal crash one of them. If you're in a team, you could have somebody do that. But knowing which door ads spawn from is actually really good. But solo, there's not a lot you can do about it. So what I end up choosing is a tank. Now you can choose right, left, it doesn't matter so much. But just make sure you're somewhere, maybe at the very far back of the room like I am, so that the critical hit on the tank's easy. I don't need to move. I can just get my shots, which it takes 2 shots per shot of my linear to break a leg. You're going to need to break 2 or 3 legs. 2 legs will get a tank 1 shot. And at that point, a grenade sweep business would finish the tank. But just know you can't stand too long. This is what it's all about. It's about movement. So get your 2 legs broke on a tank. Then you need to be moving. You need to be focusing on the snipers, because you will get a fresh pair of snipers left and right. Now, there obviously there is them areas that you can stand up above. But if you do that, you get extra spawns of phalanxes. So don't do it. So here we are getting the legs broke on the tank. And then as soon as we've done that, we go to cover, get a sniper or 2. I'm pushing DPS, which probably shouldn't be, but I'm pushing it to see if I can get the tank killed. And then at this point, it's going to be map rotation. As there's still 2 tanks alive, and we're in a dangerous, threatening moment at the time, because these champions can really, they really are RNG at this point. There's no pattern to the barriers. They can follow you around the room. They can go into positions you wouldn't think of. To get that to be normalized, you need to take out the tanks. As soon as you do that, what will happen is all the ads will congregate to middle, where the tanks are, because they're not going to go where the tanks are. They're going to push you. So this is why it's critical to sort of take out the tanks. You can use a super on the tanks. I didn't. I ended up using ammo. I ended up using my super for the ARG clear. But if you want to use a super on the tank, by all means do it. It doesn't do that much damage though. I will say that. It doesn't do as much damage as what your weapons would, because the tank relies upon you doing critical hit damage. But that's the tank taken out. This is a good place to stand where I am right now. You can, the room is identical on the left hand side to this. See, I could have done the same on the left hand side. It's really good. The ads are grouping up really nice. I'll use a super. Now what my purpose of this is to sort of take out all the ads surrounding the champion. It's not to take out champions, because I know they're going to shield. It's just to try and do some damage to all the ads in middle. We get a couple, but they're not all taken out. There is a couple of ads left. Now I try to take out the champions from this location, which doesn't work out in my best interest, you'll see. But I suppose you can learn from the video, that's why I'm doing it. It's one of the reasons. As the champs sort of get on top of each other. So I can't really get a shield break at that. So what I end up doing is re-evaluating and going to a different location. Something that's a little bit closer for sweep business to sort of do a bit more damage, to be a bit more consistent. We've got the dog phase, which that was another thing that was putting me off. I was worrying about, because I knew there was a dog phase, but they weren't pushing. That's fine. 1 nade will do that. We'll sit in the sunspot. That's one reason why we're on this setup, is because you're getting a bunch of nades, you get health regen, you get good ability regen. It's good to pair with elemental wells. I could have went middle tree for the damage and stuff like that, but sometimes you just want to go for, you know, the safer choice. This is a good location to deal with the barriers, or can be. But again, they got on top of each other. But eventually they did position nicely. But it is a good place, because if you do get caught out, there's a little alley to my left to sort of strafe in and out. And it just ensures I'm within a good range of them. Sort of take them. as you can see, just straight from now. Even though, as I say, luck isn't on our side, we can still sort of make the best of the situation. So now this champ's literally won. That's good, that's one. Once there's one barrier taken out, the final one's way easier than what it is with 2 alive. We use a bit of linear, sorry, a bit of fusion. We haven't got any linear, but we do have a lot of ammo on the floor, which I purposely left there. We didn't really need to use it, and we'll use it on this Void Shield. The VIP targets can be either Void, Solar or Arc. So I can't really say this is what's going to happen all the time. If it's Void, you would have Freddy Needle on. If it's Solar, you've got your Fusion. If it's Arc, then I would suggest spamming your Coordinate Fusion, because it's got Particle Deconstruction. It'll debuff that enemy, and you can probably take an Arc Shield, an unmatched shield within 3-4 shots. So you've got options for every outcome on that room. Okay, so with the next part, we've got the power orbs to put in. The orbs, whatever the arc charges. There's a couple of things to know, some extra information about it. You can be killed, one-shot by certain debris, rocks and things like that. Also, you want to push this certain room pretty hard to make sure that the Unstoppable pushes you. If you don't do that, the Unstoppable will jump to the middle platform, making it awkward to deal with, because then you've got the VIP target, which could be Void Shielded, it could be a Phalanx. For our loadout, it'd be best off it was a Phalanx, but it's not. It's a Void Shield. Which is, you know, it really doesn't matter, but there is variations. So say for example your loadout does not have Void in it. Say you've chose Tarantula, or you've chose Corsair's Wrath, which are different shields, and you don't have Void in your loadout for whatever reason, then it's going to be a little bit harder. You have to do some sustained damage, or you could even use a Super if you wished. But generally you want to save a Super if you can for this next part, because it just makes this next section a little bit easier. Because as I was saying, there's a modifier on called Empath. You take increased melee damage. It's basically similar to Blackout. One melee swipe off a cleaver will get you in the red. Obviously there's things you can do, use melee resistance, but just for one section you really don't want to do that. So in other words, just use a Super. Just use a grenade Super, and then we just clear out all the ads group up really nicely. We don't need this Super. This Super isn't really good for champions. It's an ad clear Super. It's good for boss damage. It's not too bad. So those are the two instances I really use it. It's for ad clear and boss damage, not for champions. Also, be sure to take out the 2 turrets. I used one hammer to take out one of the turrets, and I go up here to take out the other one. Make sure you do that, because the turret will just melt you behind you, which you don't want. Then we want to lead with a grenade. Then we strafe left and right behind cover, which is the best way of using Sweet Business to take this barrier champion down. Try and get a solo kill while you're at it, so we can get Font of Wisdom going, because we'll pick up that well. We'll get some great energy and Font of Wisdom going. I try and optimise picking up wells as much as possible, you'll notice. As it just sort of helps out in the run. Because when we get to the boss, we're going to get our Super for free anyways. So if we can utilise another Super before the boss room, then that's good. So I'll put the power core in. Obviously you do that when all the ads are clear. On this side, again, there's going to be RNG. It will either be a Scion or a Solar Shield. I haven't seen a Void in this one. It's either Solar or Void. Solar or Unshielded Scion. So we'll pick up another well. We'll create one of those. There's 3 turrets in the room, but the turret locations are random, I believe. As the 3rd turret, I wasn't sure where it was, but actually there's another platform for the 3rd turret to spawn, which you'll see in a minute. Which actually nearly caught me off guard. I didn't realise. You'll see. What we want to do is use this box to our cover and take out as many ads as we can before dealing with the champion. Obviously, because if we start dealing with the champion, we're just going to get a bunch of nades. Meaning, we'll have to jump out of cover. Meaning that we're a prime target for the champion, which we don't want. right here. I'm just laying left and right, so he can't actually do sustained damage, just to proc that shield. Then we get the shield. We can use a bit of heavy. My heavy is lowish, but it's not too bad. I end up getting some more bricks. Then we'll finish him off with sweet business. Simple. What I would say with the debris that can hit you in these rooms, well, it's not rooms, it's kind of outside, it's where the landing gear is, etc. Is just be careful not to play here too long. So I've played this Nightfall a bit this week, testing in these rooms, and I've played it on previous seasons. What I've noticed is the longer you're in here, you have an increased chance of being hit by the rock, which is common sense, but it actually is the sort of thing where I've seen runs where I've spent a little longer and I just get one shot by a rock, or the rock just damaged me slightly. There's a lot of RNG to it. Also, there is a sort of thing where listen to what the noises are. If there's like sort of a ting, that's where the rocks are hitting parts of the room. So once you hear that noise, you can then go for the power core, and then you'll know that you won't get hit again. I've seen that as a mechanic with this, but other than that, it is really sort of, you just got to be don't play too slow in these rooms is the best advice I can give. So we used our fusion on those cleavers to take them out. I could have used a super there, but we're going to use it for the next bit. Your main goal is to take out the 2 orange bars if you can. Then you can deal with the barrier, and then you can just sort of melt in with sweet business. In my opinion, they should just give sweet business barrier rounds permanent. I don't know why it isn't. If it did, it would see a hell of a lot more play than it does, because it is really good. And I believe it is actually a better weapon than Eriana's Val. I know they're two different weapon types, but they serve similar purpose this season. They're both barrier weapons. You know, I would I would rather have a sweet business any day over Eriana's, because Eriana's is really, it's really limited by ammo. Alright, the only time it's really effective if you start using special finisher and things like that, or when ammo's not much of a problem. You can buff it with, you know, hand cannon reserves, hand cannon scavenger, things like that. You know, which you can do that, but again, it's still ammo dependent, and if you've got a lot of champions to take out solo, it's not always the best choice. It is a great weapon, don't get me wrong, but I just think, you know, infinite primary ammo with sweet business is actually a stronger weapon. So this section, there's 2 champions, an unstoppable and a barrier. We'll get the unstoppable finishable. If you ever are pushed by a champion, unstoppable, you can use your Talon barricade and you will not get hurt. The champion will actually stop when he gets within 4 or 5 meters. He'll do his blast attack move, but it won't affect you because you've used your barricade. It's really their weakness. They can't really combat against barricades so much. Then we'll deal with the barrier, pretty simple, like we did with all the others. Then we use a super. We'll use the super here just so that, because we're going to get it back. There wasn't many ads left. But obviously if there was more ads left alive, it would have had more utility. Make sure you pick up all ammo drops. I didn't. There was ammo back in that room, but I didn't go for it. But I would recommend you do, because it's famine this week. And having more ammo when you get to the boss fight, it does help out. Speaking of the boss fight, so this is going to be showing you really how to deal with this boss fight. And it really isn't as difficult. Like, Proving Grounds is really a hot topic when it comes up, because everyone wants to know what strategies to do, whether it be team-wise or solo, both. You know, a lot of teams, they want to be looking at maybe Code of the Commander with Ursa Furiosa, or Wells with Phoenix, or, you know, stuff like that, or Invis, but you really don't need as much as that stuff as you need. I'm on a Titan here. I haven't got much survivability apart from health regen and solar abilities. That is it. And I'm using my super on the boss anyways. So how am I surviving? Well, it's pretty simple. Map rotation. Learn the map rotation. Learn how this boss reacts to what you do. And you really don't need anything. And the same will apply to when you do the solo GM. Obviously it's going to be way more difficult than what it is on Master right now, because I'm doing maximum damage to what I should be to adds. On GM it won't be like that. Every Cabal is, every Legionary is threatening. The boss attacks are way more threatening, so I understand that. But it is still going to be possible to do it on this loadout. All you need to be aware of is rotating between the corridor room. You know, that's why it's there. It's used as a place to fight. So don't be fighting from the front of the room, fight from the back of the room. From the front of the room there's no cover. There's literally no cover. And it's not going to defend you against this solar blast, but you can take them easily with sweet business, because my auto just keeps reloading. So that's another good thing about this weapon, is I can easily take his solar attack, which means I can just keep doing DPS, and then when he does do his solar attack, I don't have to hide. I can run back and forth like this. Different ways of doing it. But what I know is when you do your rotation, so as soon as he does his solar attack, if you rotate to left, by the time you've rotated to left, his solar attack will explode on the building in front of me. Then I just do DPS. So it's just as you just oscillating between the sides, look. But again, you don't even have to do that. You can actually just stay where you are, DPSing with your auto, and then just take down the solar attack, and then keep doing your damage. I could have used more DPS in terms of my weapons, because I've got 2 unstoppable weapons, which again, this is really good for this boss fight, because unstoppables are a key that you need to take out quickly. So I could have used more ammo than I did, but I just played it conservative for the first phase, and then for the last 2 phases I went in more for damage, which you'll see. But before that, if he does his attack just before he goes immune, stop damaging. You want it, because that'll mean you'll get a solar attack while you get unstoppables, which you don't want, not right away. Then we got the time right, we get him immune, then we'll come to this corner of the room. Your objective is to melt this champion no matter what. Just use all your ammo on him. As soon as you do that, retreat to this room. So with this corridor room as well, even though if it's heated, because the mechanic is it heats and it isn't, and you take tick damage if it is, essentially there doesn't seem to be a pattern to it, but if you stay on the sides, the grey bits, okay, you won't take tick damage. Which I would say that's being done on purpose, because there literally would be nowhere to stand if that wasn't a thing. So you can literally just stand here safe. So this is what you want to do. We took out one of the unstoppables already. We'll take out the second. I'm just baiting him over, which you can do that with your primaries. We'll finish him off with sweet business, which does good damage when we get a stun. That's good. And then we can then proceed with the boss fight. So obviously, while that's been going on, he's been doing his solar flare attack, right? Well, he does his solar flare attack each phase 13 times. Once he's done his 13-time rotation, he will stop, and then he will get bored and just use his void blaster gun at you. That's the phase you want, but you have to wait for this each time, which can be annoying. Well, not so much on the third phase. You can get around it, but on GM difficulty, you definitely would be waiting. You wouldn't be putting yourself at risk at all. But obviously, that difficulty is not out at this minute, so I'm not going to talk too in depth about that. But right now, if you're doing the solo as of this week, as I said, you can play a bit more aggressive and not be, you know, sort of penalised for that. Obviously, it depends on your power level. If you're below 13, 14, then you may need to play more passive. But at this minute in time, we're just waiting on him finishing his attack. I'm just shooting down the orbs just to show you how good it is for that. But once he stops, which he has now, I believe, we can then take out the Cabal Shield. So this one to me is the most difficult. I don't know why. It's just his position and there's a lot of randomness to where he stands, where he doesn't. But this one I just find annoying. I would suggest just using a cover left or right of this. So there's this one, and then on the other side, those are your best 2 points. You can sort of head glitch him on the hill, but that's random as well. Doesn't always happen. In other words, his attack will hit the ground, it won't hit you, and you can do damage to the shield in middle. But that's not always happening. You know, sometimes he's just dead accurate, sometimes he isn't. So the best thing I would say is do bait some boss stomps out. See, any boss in this game who has a stomp mechanic will stomp you within 2 meters. Say it's 2 meters, 2.5, whatever it is. What you can do is run into that stomp range and then slide back out. That will then do 2 things. It'll stop the boss from stomping you again, because there's a cooldown. The boss has a cooldown for stomps. You can then do whatever you need to do. So say it might be sword, whatever it is. But in this case, we could bait our stomp, then do some damage with the linear. But you'll know when the shield is weak when it starts to electrify. As I said, this one's more annoying. This one's more annoying to me than the other one. As the last bubble will be on top. So this is another add phase. You'll get this phase each, phase and 3 main phases. It's literally just a couple of legionaries, 2 phalanxes. That's all it is. Not very threatening. The boss will do his solar attack at you. He should be doing it. He doesn't end up doing it. I don't know why. Since he's just standing there, we'll do some linear. Or I was pretty weak. Do 1 linear. He's doing his attack. Anytime he does his attack, just rotate round. And that way, you can start DPSing again, and you just keep doing that. So think of this fight more of as a DPS fight. If you want to get through it quickly, on this difficulty, then just keep rotating left and right. If you want to do a super on him, you can, just decent-ish damage. This boss is pretty tanky as he is though. Then we'll rotate again. If you want to take out all the phalanxes and stuff, you can, but they don't bother you. If you just keep doing this, they really don't bother you. But I wouldn't recommend leaving them up. Because if you've got ads from phase 2 and you're on phase 3, like a lot, it's going to mount up on you. And then you're going to make the fight harder than what it really is. So don't do that either. Manage your ammo on phase 2 because you need plenty for phase 3. You've got 2 unstoppables to take still. Now it's taken me 4 or 5 shots to kill a barrier if I stop him with the linear. Obviously I could stop him with the standard fusion if I wanted, but if you're going to just do it like that, as I say, you're going to want a bit of ammo. So just make sure, as I say, you've got enough ammo. You should have. You've got 2 stoppable weapons for phase 3, so you should have more than enough ammo. So the first unstoppable we're going to melt down. This needs to be immediate. If you're going to do it like this, if you're not, you need to go to the back of the map. I will go to the back of the map, but the reason why I do it like this is because when I do go to the back of the map, only 1 unstoppable will push over 2, which is really good. Because if that unstoppable boops you into a wall, that can be a death because of knockback damage increased. So now we'll retreat to the back of the map. So just to explain, if you don't know what's going on, the boss is in his solar flare attack mode, but he can't hit you from here. It has a range drop off. So that means this is where we fight from. So you deal with your last unstoppable, pretty easy. And then now what you can do is 2 things. You can either wait, or you can use the aggressive route and just take down the shield as he's doing it, which I end up doing, you'll see in a minute. Pick up any ammo as well. So for the phase 3 I've got loads of ammo. There's no more unstoppables to deal with. It's just DPS. We're halfway to a server, so we've got all the DPS we need. You can outrun the solar attack like so, especially on a Titan. And now we just want to sort of go left to right. Do 1 linear shot or 1 fusion shot per time when you do actually get an opportunity. I'm just going left and right. So right here is a good example. I done a nade there. Apparently the thermite grade doesn't damage the central unit, which was disappointing, but fine. And then we'll finish him. It's actually really good doing it like that because he's forced into his solar move, which means he can't stomp you. So this is the thing, a boss can't do 2 things at once. If he's going to do his solar attack, he's going to do it and he's not going to stomp, which gives us that brief second just to take down the unit quickly enough, and then just jump right back down into the corridor, and then we're fine. We're on to phase 3. It makes it that much quicker rather than having to wait at the back of the map for that stupid attack to go on. It really just eats your time on runs. That's one thing I don't like about him. I do kind of like he has that solo move, but I wish it was more like Savathun's song, if anyone remembers that one. Essentially, on the final phase, or just before the... Yeah, on the final phase he would do... the phase, the last phase, and then the phase before he would do a special attack. And it would only be every so many seconds, it wouldn't be all the time constant. It would be like every 20 seconds he would do this special attack on you. That's what this boss should be doing. He shouldn't be doing that solo move all the time. Because what they've done to balance his strike is nerf the range of his attack. To balance it out and to have this corridor thing. So they've made something really powerful, but they've also made the map easier to deal with it. And I don't like that. I'd rather it was just the attack's really strong, but it's only like that every 20 seconds. Rather than every 5, it's just a bit too much. Especially the fact that you have to wait it out and then you can approach him. We're just doing DPS now. He's literally one shot. There's ads at the back, we don't need them. We just want to take him out with our super. And what that was, I guess he knocked us in the air. But that was the run on for the Titan. Hope you enjoy. Thank you.
Title, your champion falls.
I did not imagine this outcome.